Hello, Haunted Family. Welcome back. Story 1. Ghost on Campus. I attended college in West Texas, and that's where this story takes place. Now, there's many stories. I don't know what's myth and what isn't, so I'm telling the ones that personally happened to the people I know. I was an art major, but we did have a professor in our drawing class one day. Instead of leaving, like most college students do when their professor doesn't show up, we stayed so we could get caught up on projects. Somehow we got talking about ghosts, and people who normally don't talk to anyone else started telling their stories. The best one came from a girl named Celie. She was from somewhere far east. She was living on campus in a dorm that was kind of famous for being haunted. One evening, Celie laid down in her bed, resting, while her roommate stood at the door, talking to someone in the hallway. Suddenly, Celie felt paralyzed. An apparition of a girl with blonde hair came up head first from under her bed. She even demonstrated for us how this figure came up. It gave me major chills. The girl hovered there and said angrily, "You need to go home now." The ghost also called her by her full name. We're talking first, middle, last, full government name. Celie couldn't move or scream or anything to get her attention of her roommate, who just stood a few feet away, until after the ghost had disappeared. Another story came from my friend Lena, who lived in another dorm. One evening, she and her roommate were out driving on the highway when they passed by a house with an old barn in the back. Nothing seemed special about this house, but they found themselves drawn to it, especially the barn. So they circled back around and drove by the house twice more. The third time, they felt something had left the barn and entered their car. They blew it off until things started happening in their dorm. Just regular haunting stuff. Things disappearing. Feeling someone sit down on the bed when you were alone in the room. At first, the ghost seemed friendly, and even followed them when they went home for the weekend. Then one time, one of them was in the bathroom alone. She felt like someone was watching her. So she looked into the stalls, in the showers. There was no one there. She was brushing her teeth, and when she looked into the mirror, she noticed two eyes peeping at her through the shower curtain. When she turned around, there was still no one there. Pretty soon, they decided to pack up and get out of that dorm room. As they were walking down the stairs to say their final goodbyes to their friend, something pushed them just hard enough to make them stumble. When they turned around, of course, there was no one behind them. Story 2. Mind Ghost. My grandparents had a number of paranormal things happen to them. I'm just going to share one story, though. My grandfather's uncle, Uncle Jed, had a mine that he had owned for quite a long time. He would go day after day to his mine and work. He would mostly find copper and silver, but every once in a while he would find flecks of gold dust. Rarely would he ever find nuggets. One night, while he was there in bed, it began to rain. He remembered that he had left his mine. It was sunny, so he didn't cover it up. He got up, woke up the whole house, and told them that he was going to have to go out to his mine and cover it up. He would only be gone for a half hour or so. He left with only a raincoat and a lantern. About 2 hours had passed, and he had not returned home. When the rain let up, they went out searching for him. And they found him passed away. Years later, at night, his sister would see a faint light coming through the woods. It would jump on top of the house and hit the window and then disappear. After a few times of this happening, they concluded that the light was a lantern light, and it must be the light that Uncle Jed was carrying when he left. Could it be his ghost trying to get back to his house? Will Uncle Jed ever find the peace that he needs? Story 3. Spooked. It was a cold winter night. I was working out of town with some friends. It was a 3-day job, and we had just finished up. And then my boss's sister informed us that we had more work to do. We were all broke, not really planning to be out of town that long. She offered to let us stay at her house. She hadn't lived there long. And then she said that it was haunted. But that she'd had it cleared by a spiritualist, so it was all cool now. We laughed and joked about it at supper. Her mom showed up. Apparently one of the guys in the crew's grandmother had taken ill, and she was going to drive him back. She even remarked that the house felt good now. Apparently, it was the first time she'd been there since it had been cleared by the spiritualist. They left, and we got ready for bed. Jimmy and I were on the floor in the living room. Jack was sleeping in the spare bedroom. I woke up at 2 a.m., having a nasty nightmare. Someone was being crucified on a cross. It wasn't one of my typical nightmares. I finally got back to sleep. Then it happened. A light, like a flashlight, right in my face. I was sleeping facing a wall, so there was no light coming from a window hitting my face. I got up, and I checked the whole house. Nothing, not even a noise. I laid back down, and then my face and neck started to tingle, like static electricity. And then it felt like a big set of hands wrapped around my neck and started to choke me. I couldn't yell. I couldn't pick my head up. I tried to hit or kick Jimmy, who was right next to me. He stirred but didn't wake up. But whatever I did actually stopped the choking. It was 5:30 and we were to get up at 6. I decided I was just going to sit out in the van. I didn't want to be in that house anymore. It was 30 below zero outside. I didn't care. I just turned the car on and stayed there until the woman who owned the house woke up. And when she did, I told her point blank, her house was not clear. She looked at me surprised as I told her what had happened throughout the night. Her eyes got real big, and she said the same thing had happened to her. After breakfast, Jack and I took the van, and we went home. There was no way I was staying in that town, in that house again. Jimmy stayed, and her and Jimmy went to some of the bars, asking about the history of the house. It was only like 20 years old. Someone had to have known something about the owner. Come to find out, the original owner of the house had went out to the bars. He got really drunk and passed out in the garage with his vehicle still running. Fumes built up and it killed him and his daughter. I guess he stuck around. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the stories. If you did, hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Music by Carl Casey of White Bat Audio. Until next time, bye.